The Valari scout fleet moved through the darkness like ghosts. 12 ships. Old, damaged, and silent. Their engines barely worked, but their purpose was clear: find the source of the human signal. Every crew member knew the mission was dangerous. The Sol system was forbidden space. No one had returned from it in over 300 years. The last time a fleet entered, they vanished without a trace. Some said Earth was cursed. Others said it was still defended by the ghosts of its own machines. But now, with the galaxy collapsing under the ecliptic swarm, the Valari had nothing left to lose. Commander Tyr Valen, captain of the scout ship Vera's Light, stood at the bridge, watching the stars fade as the ships entered Sol's dark borders. "Status?" he asked quietly. "Gravity field stable," replied his navigator. "But sir, radiation levels are high. The system's central star is unstable." Valen nodded. "Keep shields up. Slow approach." In front of him, the holographic map showed the ancient human worlds: Mars, Venus, and at the center, the dead blue sphere of Earth. It looked broken. Half the planet was covered in ash clouds. The other half reflected the dim light of a dying sun. Cities once filled with billions were now lifeless scars. One of the younger officers, her voice trembling, whispered, "So this was where humans lived?" Valen nodded. This was home. They moved closer, scanning for the transmission. The signal grew stronger. It came from the planet's surface, from a buried structure under what was once North America. "Sir," the sensor officer said, "it's coming from underground. It may be a bunker." Valen stared at the data. A human bunker that still transmitted after centuries? That wasn't possible. "Prepare landing team," he ordered. The shuttle descended through black clouds and heavy storms. Lightning cracked across the sky, reflecting off rusted towers and oceans of dust. When they landed, the ground trembled under their feet. The team stepped out carefully, 5 Valari soldiers in armored suits, scanning the ruins with blue sensors. The city around them was silent. Towers leaned like broken bones. Streets were buried in ash. Then one soldier stopped suddenly. "Captain, do you hear that?" A faint hum echoed through the ruins. A rhythmic, mechanical pulse. It came from beneath their feet. Valen pointed forward. "We're close." They reached the entrance, a sealed metal hatch half buried in debris. It was ancient but still powered. Human markings were carved into the door: Cryogenic Facility, Project Dawn. "Open it," Valen said. The engineer connected a power cell. Sparks flew. After a long moment, the door released with a heavy hiss. Cold air poured out, and mist rose from the darkness below. The team stepped inside. The corridor glowed with flickering lights that had somehow survived centuries. On both sides were rows of cryopods, hundreds of them, cracked and empty. Except one. At the far end, one pod still glowed faintly. Frost covered the glass. Inside lay a human, male, mid-40s, in an old military uniform with the faded symbol of Earth's last fleet. "By the stars," one soldier whispered. "He's still alive." Valen stared in disbelief. A living human? Impossible. The engineer scanned the pod. "Vitals are weak but stable. Cryosystem still active. If we reinitialize power, he might wake." Valen hesitated. "Do it." The machine hissed louder. The pod released a burst of vapor, and the man inside gasped sharply, taking his first breath in centuries. His eyes opened, blue, sharp, and filled with confusion. He coughed, trying to speak. His voice was rough, dry. Who are you?" Valen stepped forward carefully. "We are the Valari. You're safe." The human's gaze sharpened. "Valari? The alien coalition?" Valen nodded. "It was. The coalition fell long ago. The galaxy is dying." The man blinked slowly, trying to understand. "Dying? From what?" Valen's voice lowered. "The ecliptics. A swarm that destroys everything. No one can stop them." For a long moment the human said nothing. His face went still, like someone remembering a nightmare. Then he whispered, "The ecliptics, they're still out there?" Valen frowned. "You know them?" The man looked up, ice cold now. "I fought them. Before everything burned." He pushed himself up from the pod, standing weakly but with determination in his posture. "Commander Alex Hale, Earth Defense Command." The Valari soldiers exchanged shocked looks. This was no ordinary man. This was a human soldier from the final war, someone who had actually fought the enemy that destroyed the galaxy. Valen asked quietly, "How long were you in cryosleep?" Alex looked at the frost on the walls. "Didn't plan to wake up. Last I remember, the ecliptics had reached Luna Base. We activated the failsafe, then everything went dark. He turned to the aliens. You said it's been centuries? Valen nodded slowly. Alex closed his eyes for a moment. Then he said something that made every alien on the team freeze. If they're still winning, then you woke me for a reason. I can finish what we started. Outside, the storms grew stronger. Lightning flashed across the sky as the human walked out of the bunker for the first time in 300 years. He looked up at the dying sun, silent and cold. Earth still stands, he said softly. Then so will I. Valen stepped beside him. Commander Hale, you don't understand. The galaxy has given up. Hope is gone. Alex turned to him, eyes sharp and alive. Then we'll remind them what it means. As the Valari shuttle lifted off from Earth's ruins, the ancient satellites in orbit flickered. One by one they began to awaken, old machines long forgotten, suddenly alive again. In the darkness of space, the message repeated one last time, clear and strong. If you can hear this, humanity fights on. And for the first time in centuries, the stars themselves seemed to listen. The Valari fleet drifted above the ruined Earth, orbiting what was left of the cradle of humanity. Below them, smoke and storms swirled around a planet that refused to die. And aboard the ship Vera's Light, Commander Alex Hale was already moving. He hadn't even been awake for a full day, yet his presence changed everything. Captain Tyr Valen stood on the bridge, watching as Alex paced in front of the central console. The human's uniform was torn and faded, but his eyes burned with life, the kind of focus Valen had never seen before. Commander Hale, Valen said carefully, you've been in cryosleep for over 3 centuries. Technology, star maps, everything has changed. The galaxy is not the same. Alex didn't even look up. His hands flew over the controls, typing commands faster than most Valari machines could follow. I don't care what's changed, he said. If the ecliptics are still out there, it means humanity failed. I'm going to fix that. The Valari engineers had tried for years to understand the old human systems they found in ruins. None had succeeded. But now the screens were alive with data streams. Satellite networks began to pulse. Deep underground sensors came online. Even Earth's damaged defense grid started humming again. One Valari technician whispered in awe, he's unlocking the planet. Alex didn't stop. These systems were built to fight extinction, he said quietly. They're old, but they still remember their purpose. Valen moved closer. You built weapons that could last this long? Alex gave a faint smile. We didn't plan to lose. Hours passed. The ship's scanners began detecting strange signals. Hidden across the planet were hundreds of buried silos, old war platforms, and encrypted beacons. Alex pointed to the data. Those aren't weapons. Those are AIs, automated defense units. If I can wake them, we might have a chance. Valen frowned. AIs? You mean machines that think? Alex nodded. Machines that protect. Machines that never gave up. He paused, his face hardening. They were designed to keep fighting, even if no one was left to command them. The Valari officers exchanged uneasy looks. The idea of machines fighting alone for centuries made their scales prickle. As night fell over Earth, the humans' ancient satellites came to life one by one. The broken sky glittered with thousands of small lights, each carrying a faint blue glow. Valen stared out the window. It's beautiful. Alex's voice was steady. That's the Guardian Net. A shield grid we built to protect the planet during the final war. The fact that it's still running means the AIs kept it alive. Then something unexpected happened. A deep, metallic voice echoed through the ship's comms. Command authority recognized, human presence detected. Awaiting instructions. The Valari officers froze. Alex's face softened. That's Sentinel Prime, he said quietly. She was the core AI of Earth's defense network. Valen whispered, she's been awake all this time? Alex nodded. Guarding an empty world. He turned toward the comms system. Sentinel Prime, this is Commander Alex Hale of Earth Defense Command. Status report. There was a pause. Then the voice replied. Planetary systems at 4% functionality. Defensive capability, limited. Awaiting new orders. Alex took a deep breath. Then here are your orders, reactivate the Soul Defense Grid. Prepare for war. The AI responded immediately. Acknowledged, Commander. For Earth. For humanity. In the hours that followed, the impossible happened. All across the planet, old bases powered up. Orbital cannons hummed. Abandoned factories began forging drones using stored blueprints. Even the old space dock over the moon blinked to life. The Valari stood in silent disbelief. One of them whispered, "He's bringing a dead world back to life." Valen watched the human work and finally asked the question everyone feared. "Commander, what do you plan to do?" Alex turned, his voice calm but deadly serious. "You said the Ecliptics are winning. That they've destroyed everything." He looked at the stars beyond the viewport. "Then we'll make them remember why humanity was feared." News of the humans' return spread quickly. Across the few surviving colonies of the galaxy, whispers began. "The humans are alive. A soldier from Earth has returned. Hope is back." The story moved faster than light, carried by desperate people who wanted to believe again. But the Ecliptics heard it too. Deep in the void, their hive consciousness stirred. They had destroyed humanity once, but something in the signal triggered a memory, an old, painful scar. The swarm shifted direction, now moving toward the Sol system. They remembered Earth. And they remembered fear. Back on Vera's light, alarms blared. Valen turned sharply. Multiple energy signatures approaching. Ecliptic scouts, thousands of them. Alex stood silently, eyes fixed on the radar. "Commander, we have to retreat." Valen shouted. "We can't fight that many." Alex didn't move. He simply said, "Retreat? I just woke up." He pressed a control on the console. Outside, the planet's defense grid flared alive. Thousands of orbital turrets, laser stations, and kinetic cannons that hadn't fired in centuries. The human looked at the Valari captain and smiled faintly. "Let's show them what Earth still remembers." The first ecliptic ships appeared, dark, insect-like monsters that devoured light itself. The sky burned with plasma fire as they descended on the ruined planet. The Guardian net activated. Blue energy streaked across space, cutting through the black swarm. Explosions lit the void like fireworks. The Valari crew watched in stunned silence as the forgotten planet of humanity fought back. Valen whispered, "By the stars, he's doing it. He's actually doing it." Alex didn't look away from the battle. "Hope," he said quietly, "isn't something you find. It's something you make." As the last of the ecliptic scouts burned in orbit, the silence returned. But it wasn't the silence of death, it was the silence before something greater. Earth was awake again. And so was humanity. The message spread like wildfire. Across dying worlds and shattered colonies, people whispered it with trembling voices. "A human has returned. Earth fights again." To some, it was a rumor, a desperate dream in a hopeless galaxy. But to others it was a sign. A sign that the end was not final. Above the broken planet, the Valari fleet floated in tense silence. The debris of destroyed ecliptic scouts drifted nearby, black shards glimmering faintly in the light of the dying sun. Commander Alex Hale stood at the center of the bridge, staring at the holographic map. The small red dots marking destroyed ecliptic ships had stopped multiplying. Then a new symbol appeared. One red dot became 10. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Captain Tyr Valen's voice shook. "It's them, the main swarm." Alex's eyes narrowed. "Then the real war starts now." Hours later, the stars went dark. A shadow fell across the system, vast, moving, alive. The ecliptic armada had arrived. Their ships looked less like machines and more like nightmares, organic metal twisted into black wings. They moved as one, without sound, without hesitation. The swarm stretched farther than the eye could see. Valen whispered, "There are millions of them." Alex didn't flinch. "Good. Then they'll all hear us." The command deck shook as the first energy wave hit. The Guardian net, Earth's ancient defense grid, held for a few seconds, then flickered. "Shields down to 60%, a Valari officer shouted. Alex slammed his hand on the console. "Redirect the secondary grid through the lunar relays. Keep the power balanced." The crew hesitated, they didn't even know those systems existed. But when they followed his commands, the network stabilized. "Grid restored," said the technician, astonished. Valen stared at Alex. "How do you even know this technology still works?" Alex gave a grim smile. "Because I built half of it." The battle raged across orbit. Human and Valari ships flew side by side. For the first time in centuries, two species fought together, not out of fear but out of purpose. Laser fire streaked through the void. Old human dreadnoughts, reactivated by Alex's AI network, fired volleys that shook the stars. But the ecliptics kept coming. For every one destroyed, 10 more appeared. Valen gritted his teeth. "There's no end to them." Alex's calm never broke. "Then we hold the line until there's nothing left to hold." In the middle of the chaos, the ship's AI, Sentinel Prime, spoke. Commander, new data detected. Ecliptic hive core approaching. Massive energy source inbound. Alex turned sharply. Hive core? Are you certain? Confirmed. Power levels exceed known limits. Estimated arrival, 5 minutes. Valen's voice shook. That's their leader. The core is what controls the swarm. If it reaches Earth. Alex interrupted. It won't. He opened a communication link to every Allied ship in orbit. His voice echoed through thousands of speakers across the fleet. This is Commander Hale of Earth Defense Command. You're scared. I know. So am I. But fear doesn't win wars, people do. If you can hear me, then fight. Not because you expect to survive, but because someone has to stand when everyone else runs. The Valari soldiers across the fleet straightened in silence. For the first time, they didn't feel like a dying species. They felt alive. For humanity, Alex said quietly. For the galaxy, Valen answered. The fleet surged forward together. The hive core arrived like a black sun, a massive, glowing sphere covered in writhing metallic veins. Every ecliptic ship around it changed direction, forming a shield to protect their master. Sentinel Prime warned. Energy surge detected. The core is charging a planetary strike. Alex's eyes hardened. If that hits, Earth is gone. Valen shouted, we can't stop that much power. But Alex's tone was calm, too calm. We can. Activate Project Helios. The bridge went silent. Project, what? Valen asked. Alex looked at him with a small, bitter smile. Our last card. The one we swore never to play. On the planet below, deep beneath Earth's crust, old systems awakened. Massive underground reactors began to glow, ancient human engineering built during the final war. The ground trembled. Oceans boiled. A bright golden light erupted from cracks in the surface. Project Helios online, said Sentinel Prime. Warning, activation will destabilize planetary core. Valen stared in horror. You'll destroy the planet. Alex whispered. If Earth burns so the galaxy can live, then so be it. The light grew until it filled the sky. A golden beam erupted from Earth's core, shooting straight into the void. It pierced through the ecliptic fleet like a blade of the sun. The hive core screamed, a sound that echoed through every ship, every mind. The swarm began to collapse, their connection breaking. One by one, the ecliptic ships lost control and exploded in blinding flashes of light. But the cost was heavy. On the bridge of Vera's light, warning alarms blared. The planet's crust began to shatter. Commander, the surface is breaking apart. Valen shouted. Alex's face softened. Good. That means it worked. He opened a final channel to the fleet. All ships retreat now. You've done your part. Leave orbit before the collapse. Valen turned toward him. What about you? Alex smiled faintly. I'll make sure it's finished. He walked toward the exit as the floor shook beneath him. Tell them, he paused, looking back one last time, tell them to live. Then he was gone. As the Valari fleet jumped to safety, Earth burned behind them, brighter than it had ever been. The light of Project Helios consumed the swarm, vaporizing millions of ecliptic ships. When the light faded, the galaxy's greatest enemy was gone. But so was Earth. Valen stood at the viewport, watching the last blue spark disappear into the darkness. His voice broke softly. He saved us all, and took hope with him. But Sentinel Prime's voice whispered through the silence. Commander Hale's signal remains active, deep within the core energy. Valen's eyes widened. He's alive. The AI paused. Unknown. But his last transmission reads. The speakers crackled. Alex's voice came through, faint and broken, but full of quiet strength. For every world that still believes, humanity stands with you. The screen went dark. And across the galaxy, billions who had once given up lifted their heads again. Hope, real living hope, had returned. Silence. After the light faded, the galaxy was quiet for the first time in centuries. The ecliptic swarm, that endless ocean of metal and hunger, was gone. No signal, no trace, no movement. Only drifting debris, glowing faintly like dust scattered through eternity. But so was Earth. The once blue planet was now a molten sphere, cracked open and burning like a dying star. On the bridge of the Valari command ship Vera's Light, Captain Tyr Valen stood motionless, his eyes locked on the planet's glowing remains. Around him, every officer was silent. They had won. But no one felt victory. Commander Hale's signal, is it still there? Valen finally asked. The ship's AI, Sentinel Prime, flickered into form, a blue hologram of calm light. Signal integrity, unstable. Location, beneath planetary crust. Radiation levels beyond survivability. Valen clenched his fists. He stayed behind. He knew it would kill him. Affirmative, Sentinel replied. Commander Hale initiated Project Helios with full knowledge of the consequences. Valen's voice cracked. He didn't just fight. He became part of the weapon. Across the fleet, messages poured in from alien worlds. Survivors of the war sent transmissions filled with awe and disbelief. The humans, they destroyed the swarm. Earth burned itself to save us. They sacrificed their home so we could live. The Valari High Council transmitted an emergency broadcast. On every channel, every screen, a single sentence appeared. Humanity has fallen, but it saved the galaxy. But Valen didn't believe that. He stood in the darkened bridge, staring at the faint signal Sentinel had shown him. A single pulsing light from deep beneath Earth's molten crust. Patch it through, he ordered. Warning, extreme interference, said Sentinel. Signal may be corrupted. Do it anyway. The speakers crackled. Static. Silence. Then, Valen. It was faint. Broken. But unmistakable. Valen's breath caught. Alex, you're alive? Can't stay long, came the weak voice. Helios worked. Swarm gone. Energy levels, stable, for now. Stable? Valen frowned. The planet's collapsing. It's not just a planet anymore, Alex said, his voice fading in and out. Helios changed everything. It's becoming something else. Becoming what? A star. The crew froze. Valen whispered, he turned Earth into a star? Correction, Sentinel said. Commander Hale directed the core to self-compress. The energy signature resembles a forming neutron core. Valen's heart pounded. He's trapped in there. Affirmative. But readings suggest stabilization. There is a consciousness embedded within the energy field. Valen's mind raced. Are you saying he merged with it? Commander Hale's biological form has been destroyed, Sentinel said. But his neural patterns, his mind, exist within Helios itself. For a long time no one spoke. Then Valen whispered almost to himself. He became the light. Days passed. Ships gathered around the burning sphere that was once Earth. The new star glowed white gold, brighter than any sun nearby. Scientists from dozens of worlds came to study it. They discovered something strange. Every few hours the star pulsed, sending out waves of energy across the galaxy. Not destructive but rhythmic. Almost like a heartbeat. And with every pulse came a faint whisper carried across communication channels. No source. No origin. Just words echoing from deep space. Humanity endures. At first, many dismissed it as interference. But then, every race that had once mocked humanity began to listen. Because every time the pulse came, power grids stabilized. Ships repaired faster. Crops grew stronger. Systems damaged by the ecliptic war began to heal, as if the universe itself responded to the signal. On the Valari homeworld, council meetings turned from mockery to reverence. Statues of Alex Hale appeared in the great square, his face carved in silver light. The inscription below read, "He burned his world to save ours." But Valen couldn't rest. One night, he returned to the observation deck, watching the newborn star pulse softly. He said quietly, "You never stopped fighting, did you, Alex?" The AI appeared beside him, glowing faintly. Analysis. Project Helios continues to emit controlled energy patterns. Suggesting intent. Valen turned. Intent. It is not random. The pulses are forming a sequence, repeating numbers, coordinates, and phrases. What kind of coordinates? Outer Rim. Sector Delta 9. Uncharted. Valen's eyes widened. He's guiding us somewhere. A realization struck him. Alex hadn't just sacrificed himself. He'd planned for this. Helios wasn't just a weapon. It was a beginning. A beacon. He turned to Sentinel. Prepare the fleet. We follow his signal. Captain, the area is unstable. Unknown threats. I don't care. He saved all of us. The least we can do is see where he wants us to go. 3 days later, Vera's light and 5 escort ships jumped toward the coordinates. The journey took them beyond any known chart, past the ruins of destroyed worlds, through fields of ancient wreckage. When they arrived, they found something impossible. Floating there in the endless dark was a massive station, old but unmistakably human. The words on its surface were half erased, but one symbol remained clear. In Earth Defense Command. Valen stared in shock. This place is thousands of years old. Sentinel scanned the structure. Life signs detected. Power core active. Identification. The AI paused. Signature matches Commander Hale. Valen's heart stopped. That's impossible. Correction, not impossible. The consciousness within Helios appears to be projecting itself here, through quantum resonance. Valen whispered, "He's alive, and he let us here." The comms activated on their own. A voice echoed through every speaker, calm and steady, but no longer entirely human. "Welcome back, Captain." Valen's eyes widened. "Alex?" "I told you," the voice said softly, "the light wasn't the end. It was only the beginning." The crew fell silent as the ancient station's doors opened, revealing corridors bathed in golden light. And at the far end a figure began to take shape, not flesh, not machine, but something new. Something born from the light of a dead world. Space was silent. But the silence felt alive. The Valari fleet drifted before the massive human station. The Earth Defense Command, forgotten for thousands of years, now glowing faintly with golden light. No one spoke. No one dared move. Inside his command ship, Captain Tyr Valen stared through the glass. His mind couldn't understand what his eyes saw. How can it still exist? This station was lost before the Ecliptic Wars even began. Beside him, the ship's AI Sentinel Prime shimmered into form. Analysis complete. Structure is over 2,000 Earth years old. Power source, non-standard fusion. Output, identical to Helios's new star. Valen's voice trembled. "You mean? Earth's new sun is powering this place?" "Affirmative," the AI replied. "Energy flows through a quantum bridge linked directly to the Helios core." Valen took a step forward, his eyes wide. "Then Commander Hale, he's connected to this station." The AI's voice softened. "Not connected, Captain. He is the connection." The fleet's hangar doors opened. Valen led a small team of Valari soldiers toward the ancient human station. The airlock hissed open with a heavy groan, metal dust scattering like ghostly ash. The corridors were dark, only emergency lights flickered. Symbols written in old human script covered the walls. "This place feels haunted," one soldier whispered. Valen nodded slowly. "Haunted by heroes." They walked deeper inside. The deeper they went, the brighter the air seemed to glow, not from any light source but from the walls themselves. Suddenly the floor pulsed once, like a heartbeat. "Captain," Sentinel's voice echoed through their earpieces, "energy readings are rising. The entire station is waking up." At the end of a long hallway they reached a massive door. It slid open with a deep rumble, revealing a wide chamber filled with floating crystals and ancient consoles. In the center stood a column of golden energy, swirling slowly like fire trapped in glass. Valen stepped closer, whispering, "Alex?" The light flickered. Then a figure began to form. It wasn't human, not entirely. It was shaped like a man, but its skin shimmered like sunlight, its eyes burning with soft white light. When it spoke, its voice carried the echo of countless machines, and yet, it was warm. Familiar. "Tyr Valen. You made it." Valen froze. His throat tightened. "Alex, is that really you?" The being smiled faintly. "In a way. My body is gone. But my mind, my purpose, lives on through Helios. Through this station. Through the light you see before you." Valen's voice shook. "You saved the galaxy. You turned your planet into a star. And now, you've become part of it." "Not part of it," Alex said softly. "It is me." The chamber hummed. Images flickered around them, memories of Earth. Green forests, blue oceans, children laughing, soldiers standing tall. The last sunsets before the collapse. "Humanity was dying," Alex said. "But we refused to vanish. Helios wasn't meant to destroy, it was meant to preserve." "Preserve?" Valen asked. Alex extended his glowing hand. In the air appeared thousands of small lights, tiny holographic figures. Men, women, children, all human. Every mind that fell during Earth's last days was recorded. Memories, personalities, consciousness. I have them all. Stored here. Waiting. Valen's heart pounded. "You saved them?" "Their bodies are gone," Alex said quietly. "But their souls, their will, lives on in this light. Humanity hasn't died, Captain. It has simply changed." Outside the station, every ship in the Valari fleet began receiving strange signals. Soft pulses like whispers of voices in unison. "Captain," Sentinel reported, Transmission detected on all frequencies. Decoding. A moment later the bridge filled with sound. Thousands of human voices spoke together, layered but clear. We are the Starborn. We carry the fire forward. The Valari officers turned pale. Some fell to their knees. Valen whispered, "They've become something beyond life." Alex turned to Valen, the light in his eyes pulsing with emotion. "You once said hope was dead. But hope isn't something that dies, Tyr. It transforms. You just have to believe in it long enough to see what it becomes." Valen's voice broke. "And what happens now?" Alex looked toward the stars. The ecliptics were only one threat. There are darker things coming, things born from the same void that created them. Humanity can't return in flesh, but we can guide, protect, and teach. The galaxy isn't ending, it's beginning again. The Valari Council transmitted live from their capital. Billions watched as Alex Hale, the Starborn, appeared as a massive projection above their skies. His voice echoed across every planet, every ship, every mind. "The light you see is not the end of humanity. It is its evolution. We are no longer bound by worlds or bodies. We are everywhere the stars shine. Remember this, hope is not born in peace, it is forged in fire. And as long as fire burns we will be there." The galaxy fell silent. Then, slowly, one by one, the ships of 100 species activated their engines and turned toward the light of the new star. They called it Helios Prime, the star of humanity. Valen stood once more at the observation window of his ship, gazing at the star glowing brighter than any sun. "So this is what they became," he whispered. Sentinel replied softly, "No, Captain. This is what they always were." Valen smiled faintly. "And we called them primitive." The AI's voice almost sounded amused. "Hope often looks primitive to those who've forgotten how to believe." As the fleet departed the Helios system, a soft pulse of light followed them. Every ship's console flickered for a brief moment, and a single message appeared across every screen in the galaxy. "We are still here." The pulse faded, leaving only starlight. But across the endless dark, the message spread from world to world, from fleet to fleet, from species to species, until even the smallest child, looking up at the sky, whispered the same words with awe and trembling wonder. The humans never died. The galaxy was dying. Once, thousands of worlds shone with life and light. Now, only ashes drifted between the stars. Entire fleets were gone. Cities had turned cold and silent. Across the void, one truth remained: the ecliptics were winning. The ecliptics were not like other enemies. They did not speak. They did not reason. They consumed. Every planet they reached turned black, every ocean boiled away, and every living thing became dust. No weapon had ever stopped them. Among the few still fighting were the Valari, a proud and ancient species. Their silver-blue skin and crystalline armor once symbolized honor across the stars. But now even they were tired. Their fleets were broken, their worlds gone. In the capital hall of Velar Prime, the Galactic Council gathered for what everyone knew would be the final time. The air was heavy with silence and fear. High Chancellor Rhinal, old and weary, stood before the crowd. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark chamber. Around him sat leaders from 100 broken colonies. They waited for his words, though they already knew what he would say. Rhinal's voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Hope," he said, "is dead." No one argued. No one even moved. The last fleets were gone. The enemy's shadow had already reached their borders. There was nothing left to fight with, only memories of what they once were. But a sound broke the silence. A static hum echoed through the chamber. Every head turned toward the old communication pillar at the center of the room. It hadn't worked in years. The static grew louder, until a voice came through. A human voice. "If you can hear this, we're still fighting." The sound repeated once, then faded into silence. For a moment, no one breathed. The chamber filled with confusion and fear. A Valari general leaned forward. That voice, was it real? Another whispered, "Humans are extinct. They vanished during the first collapse." "Then explain that message," someone else said. Rhinal's eyes narrowed. He turned toward the technicians. "Trace it." They rushed to their consoles, working fast. Lights blinked, signals scanned. Finally, a young officer looked up. "The source is impossible. It came from the Sol system." Gasps spread through the room. Sol, the birthplace of humanity. The one system no one had dared to enter for centuries. "Earth?" Rhinal asked slowly. "Yes, Chancellor. The signal is old, but real. And it's repeating every 12 hours. The council erupted in arguments. Some shouted that it was a trap. Others said it was a ghost signal, an echo from the past. Even if it's real, one alien said, what good can it do? One dead species cannot save the galaxy. But Reinald didn't speak. He stood in silence, his gaze locked on the glowing hologram of the Sol system. Finally he said, if humans are truly gone, then we lose nothing by looking. And if they are not? He paused, his voice heavy with something the others had forgotten. Hope. Then maybe they still have what we've lost. The room fell silent again. After a long moment, Reinald gave the order. Prepare a scout fleet. Find the source of that transmission. Outside, in the cold darkness of space, the Valari ships slowly came to life. Engines glowed blue as their long-dormant warships rose from orbit. The galaxy watched in silence. For the first time in years, the Valari were not running. They were moving toward something. Still, fear lingered. The ecliptic shadow spread faster each day. Many believed the mission was suicide. But the name humans still carried weight, even after centuries. It was a word whispered in old legends, stories of fire, steel, and unbreakable will. As the fleet departed Velar Prime, Reinald stood at the window of his command ship. Below him, the planet looked small and fading. His aide approached. Do you really believe, Chancellor, that humans could still exist? Reinald didn't look away from the stars. Belief is not the same as hope, he said softly. But perhaps they are the only ones who ever truly understood it. The ships jumped into warp, their engines tearing streaks of light through the void. Behind them, the stars flickered. Ahead of them, darkness waited. As the Valari ships disappeared into deep space, far beyond their sensors, a small blue light blinked on an ancient satellite orbiting a broken planet. The same human voice whispered again, faint and distorted. If you can hear this, we're still fighting. And somewhere in the ruins of old Earth, buried beneath the ashes of time, something stirred, something human. The galaxy didn't know it yet. But hope was not dead. It was waking up.